Good day, everyone. So, today we will be talking about the second topic for prelim, which is the 19th century Philippines in Rizal's context. By the way, 19th century covers the period 1801 to 1900s. So, in this topic, we will be talking more on the political system, the social system, the cultural system, and the economic system way back 19th century in relation to Rizal's life. To start, I would like to share to you the political system during 19th century. Of course, as we have known that during that time, Philippines was colonized by Spain. And on that time, Spain governed its colonies through the so called Ministro de Ultramar, or in English, Ministry of Colonies. So, what is this Ministry of Colonies? So, this body exercised legislative, executive, judicial, and religious powers. And this particular ministry was governed or was headed by the governor general, and the governor general was the representative of the Spanish king in the Philippines, since of course the king of Spain was staying in Spain, and the king was only sending representatives in its colonies in different countries, no. And what is the power of the governor general? Actually, governor general has a lot of powers. He manifested a lot of powers, or he embodies, or the governor generals before embodied several powers. Number one power is the state power. State power is the head of the state or the head of the country. So, in this particular um, power of the governor general, we could associate that to the president of the Philippines. So, he functioned, or a particular governor general functioned as the president. No, if we try to associate that in recent times. So, that is the state power we are talking about. The second power is the power over religious matters, such as finances and appointment of priests in some ecclesiastical positions. Actually, before, there were no elections being made, only the preference of the governor general to choose personnel to to hold a particular position in the government. So that is something um, based on the prerogative of the governor general to select people or his own people to govern the state. And another power of governor general is to issue executive orders and proclamations. So same with our president, um, the governor general also do that, or also did that. He was able, or a particular governor general can issue executive orders and proclamations, and he has also a power to act as the commander in chief of the armed forces of the Philippines. That's why I told you this governor general is really the same to the function of a president, democratic president, especially if we try to relate that in our president here in the recent times. Another power of the governor general is a power over all financial matters. So the governor general has, or had overseen the flow of the expenses of the state, and he has the power to control the finances of the country. And another power was the power over all the affairs in the Philippines. Whatever affairs, of course, the governor general has or had knowledge, no, to any affairs happened in the past. and of course power to supervise and discipline, which gave him opportunity to play favoritism. This is something to do of also on his power to select officials or priests to govern no with him, w- eh, to govern with him no on the state or in the Philippines. That's why based on his preference, we can't really deny that favoritism is really transparent, or I mean, favoritism is very prevalent or was very prevalent. Okay, so those were the seven powers of governor general. Next, actually, way back 19th century, we have different um organizations or group of people, and these people are, or these offices are responsible of a particular function, no, as mandated by the king of the Spain. The first um particular agency or a particular office or a particular person, no, per se, is the Royal Audiencia. And this Royal Audiencia was the Supreme Court in Spain. Of course, this is headed by one person also. And this Supreme Court in Spain, his role or his function was to become, or to equate with the function of Governor General in case the post was left vacant. In case the king was not able to select another Governor General to govern a particular state, then partially or temporarily, the king may select or may choose the head from Royal Audiencia to become the Governor General of a particular state or colony of Spain, of course. And another role of Audiencia is promulgator of laws for the colonies. So, all the laws that they had implemented, the one who promulgated that was the Royal Audiencia. And another role was an auditor, no? Auditor General to the colonies and judge of all criminal cases in the land. Actually, Royal Audiencia in the Governor General is a separate role. But again, this Royal Audiencia can take over the role of the Governor General in case the the post was left vacant. Actually, based on the Book of Zaide, Royal Audiencia and the Governor General, the select or the elected Royal Audiencia and the elected, or I mean the assigned Governor General, were not in good terms because Royal Audiencia made an audit, no? Shading audit sa Governor General if the Governor General was functioning very well, no? And Royal Audiencia was checking if the Governor General was doing his role or his responsibilities, no, in his assigned colony or state. So he also, or the Royal Audiencia, was also an auditor of the Governor General and all criminal cases in the state or in the colony. Another one is the Residencia. This is another body. This is the so-called judicial body, and this particular Residencia, of course, this is something to do again with the law promulgators, and Residencia was a special judicial court, no, more siyang Supreme Court. So this was a special judicial court that investigates the performance of a governor general who was about to be replaced. And the Residencia, of which the incoming governor general was usually a member or submitted a report of its findings to the king. So, as what I had mentioned a while ago, if royal audiencia can replace the governor general in case the post was left vacant, of course this residencia will investigate first, no, before that particular governor general must be kicked out, no, from the position. So in case the governor general is corrupt, then the residencia will be the one to investigate that, no. He will be the one to investigate all the affairs of the governor general assigned in a particular state. The other one is the Visita. This is also an investigating agency, actually. And this Visita is the Council of the Indies in Spain. And this Visita was sent, of course, by the king, sent a government official, of course, and they are called Visitador. And this Visitador General was to was was tasked, no, to observe conditions in the colony, and the visitor general reported his findings directly to the king. So the visita or the visitador functioned like a spy. So the king, of course, sent him to the colony or to the state, no, which is or which was the colony of Spain, and this visitador will investigate everything, not just the governor general, but also the other government officials who are in position, no, in a particular state to govern that or to govern the people. And that visitador will be investigating everything, no, um, everything, all affairs, not just the governor general, but all in the position, meaning all those officials assigned together with the governor general in a particular state or in a particular country. Okay, so we're done with that. So before, as part of the political system, they have also different kinds of government. The first kind of government was the provincial government. Actually, this is known, or the known provinces before were called alcaldias. And these alcaldias were headed by an alcalde mayor, or actually, alcalde mayor, that is the so called civil governor. So, if he tried to contemplate or to reflect, or to relate that to recent times, alcalde mayor before is equivalent to governor today. And that is Gwen Garcia, no? The provincial government. Gwen Garcia is the governor of Cebu province. And before, they have also that, that kind of government, the provincial government. And the those provinces were called alcaldias and headed by alcalde mayor. And they have also unknown provinces, no, were called corregimientos. And these corregimientos were headed by corregidor, usually an army officer. Okay, so the another type of government before during the 19th century was the ayuntamiento. And this ayuntamiento, headed by two alcaldes on en ordinario, and these were the mayor and vice mayor, no, before. But these particular terms, before, no, before in the 19th century, they have they had their terms like alcaldes en ordinario. And in recent times, we call that city, no? The municipal government is equivalent to city. And that is ayuntamiento before. And ayuntamiento again was headed by alcaldes and ordinario, or in present day, that is mayor and vice mayor. So the chief judge of a town also was called gobernadorcillo, or as fondly called kapitan. So that's the chief judge, no, in every city. Or before, they have in every municipality they have their chief judge, and that was called gobernadorcillo. And the third type of government was the barangay. We also have this, in the recent times. And this is the smallest unit of the government. And the so-called Kabiza di Barangay, usually a Filipino or a Chinese mestizo. By the way, when we say Chinese mestizo, that is half Chinese, half Filipino. So again, the so-called Kabiza di Barangay, usually a Filipino or a Chinese mestizo, headed the barangay. So again, who can or who managed the barangay before? No, the barangay was managed with Kabiza di Barangay. And who were that? Those people who were Filipinos or the Chinese mestizos, the half Filipino and half Chinese. And we also had they had also the term Guardia Civil. And Guardia Civil, headed by an alferez, still related to an army officer, helped the Kabiza di Barangay in maintaining peace and order. Actually, today we have the Barangay Tanod. But before, they had also Filipinos who were working in the Spanish government who helped the Guardia Civil, especially those people who were part in an army. No, those who were army officers, and they helped the Kabiza di Barangay, no, in maintaining peace and order. And aside from the political system, we will be also talking the social system. So did or what kind of social system did the 19th century have? So we will be talking about that. Before, since we were colonized by Spain, we were also adapting feudalism. Actually, feudalism is the kind of governance, no, in Europe. And again, this feudalism was the social structure in the Philippines during the Spanish colonial period. When we say feudalism, a kind of state, no, a kind of system which has structure. And what kind of structure? Muna ng mga middle class, no, upper class, lower class. So the structure of Philippine society was pyramidal, and it consisted of three layers. Since we are adapting feudalism, same with the foreign country or the European countries. No, kay mga Europe mo na king, naa sila upper class, middle class, lower class. And since they were or the Spain was colonizing Philippines during the 19th century, we had also the feudalistic social system. Okay? So the first or the topmost layer composed of the Spanish officials was the so-called Peninsulares. So that is the first class, no, in the social structure in the Philippines during 19th century. So the topmost layer composed of the Spanish officials were the Peninsulares. And then the second, or on the middle layer, the few favored Filipinos. Um, they were called the mestizos, no, mga half, mestizos and Criollos. Kinsa man ni sila. So these people were the Spaniards born in America. So mauna sila mga middle layer. And the lower layer, the so-called Indios. Who were those? Indios, considered as the lowest kind of human beings. Those were the Filipinos, the laborers, the poor, and the workers. So the Filipinos were part of the lowest structure of the social system during the 19th century, and they were called as Indios. Okay, so upon reflecting, no, based on this particular structure, we could really realize the struggles of the Filipinos during 19th century. And we could also relate the the struggle of Rizal in fighting for our freedom, because he was the one who had witnessed the struggles of his fellow Filipinos during his time. Okay? And uh another topic or another area that we will be discussing this day is all about the economic system before, not during the 19th century. How was the economic system not before? So actually, this particular topic that we will be talking about has something to do with the flow of, what they call this, the flow of employment, no, the flow of uh, the kind of employment rather, um, the kind of trading the Filipinos and the other foreign, or I mean other foreign people done before. And actually there were many scholars, no, who considered the 19th century as an era, no, of a wider change or a deep change or a profound change, no, in the Philippines. Because during this period, during 19th century, there were a lot of economic changes, no, not just the political change, not the social, the cultural, but also this economic change was felt during 19th century. And that change, however, had its initial attack. No, this particular change in the previous century, and this has something to do with how the people before lived. Now, how they were able to survive, how they were able to find a living. Okay, so again, um, by the late 18th century, no, the Spain, the king, of course, together with with his people and the entire country, no, of Spain experience uh struggle, no, because during that time they lost the Mexican War. And during that time, the king, together with the officials, no, the government officials of Spain, were struggling that the Mexico were able, or the country Mexico was able to fight for a revolution. And that time, since we were colonized already by the Spain, so naapektahan sad ta. No, naapektahan ta nga nag-struggle lang Spain, nag-struggle pud ang Philippines, because sila man ang nag-head, no, sila man nag-control sa tong country at that time. So there were change, no, there were changes, or there were a lot of transitions when it comes to leadership and governance. And I mean, the Spain before recalibrated or reviewed, no, their government system to come up with a better one. And with that, they they were able to come up with Bourbon policies. And during that time, they had sent us, no, the first governor general in the Philippines. Okay, so the first governor general to the Philippines under the Bourbon mandate was Jose de Basco y Vargas, no, and he arrived in the Philippines way back 1778. So by the time Basco arrived, the galleon trade, no, I'll discuss later what is galleon trade. This galleon trade was the main economic institution, no, existing in the Philippines. And on that time, when Vargas arrived, this particular galleon trade was in its losing enterprise, no? Murag padung na siya malugi ang galleon trade pag abot ni Vargas. But before I proceed, no, let me explain first what is galleon trade. When we say galleon trade, this is the so-called Manila Acapulco galleon trade. No, and this was the main source of income for the colony during its early years. So ang mga Pilipino sa una class, nabuhi sila tungod aning trading, galleon trade. And service was inaugurated, no, in 1565. So um nanagid ni siya, no? Nanagid ang this particular galleon trade way back 16th century. No, kay 1565 good, and continued to the early 19th century. So the galleon trade brought silver from New Spain, no, and silk from China by way of Manila. So Manila was the trading center before. And this way, the Philippines earned its income through buy and sell. No? That is, they bought the silk from China for resale to New Spain. No? And then bought American silver for resale to China. So, reselling ragyud, no? I mean, buy and sell ragyud ang nahitabo, or buy and sell ra gyud ang part sa sa mga Filipinos before. So again, let me go back, no. By the time Basco arrived in the Philippines, kani si galleon trade was in its losing enterprise na, meaning padung na siya bankrupt, no, or ma-close or hinay na siya. So as Spain, no, they seek for, or they sought way to salvage or to save, no, the dwindling economy or the losing economy of the Philippines. And with that, the global wave of industrialization became a hope, no, for the Filipinos and for the Spain also, kay sila may nag-colonize sa ato ah. So as many imperial powers in Europe and the West, no, Western countries, apil na ang US, no, um, they were undergoing an industrialization, no, an increased, and there was a, what do you call this, an increased demand, no, of increased demand of what do you call this, crops, no. So there was increased demand for raw materials, for example, or, and this particular demand, no, presented an opportunity to look into the agricultural potential of the Philippines. Since daghan kay demand sa mga materials, no, so murag ang agricultural aspects sa Philippines natagaan og chance nga mo boom. So, in that context, it was viewed that the transformation of the economy towards being export oriented and the harnessing of the agricultural products, no, that could be stopped from the entire state. No? And to better facilitate the envisioned reorientation of the economy, kani si Basco, no? Basco, Jose de Basco y Vargas established the so-called Royal Philippine Company in 1785. So what is this? Now this is uh, mandated, no, or this was established by Basco, no? He was the one who established Royal Philippine Company in 1785. So this was established to finance agricultural projects and manage the new trade being established between Philippines and Spain. Actually, including Europe, no? And as well as other Asian markets. So this particular changes, class, however, were met with lukewarm reception, meaning naiubang mga tao nga wala ni dawat ani, no, aning Royal Philippine Company in 1785. Why? No, there was resistance because resistance was coming from various sectors like Catholic Church, no, that was not receptive of the labor realignments entailed by the planned reforms. Kaya nga naman, because this particular reform or this particular project managed by established by Basco class, naaman siya'y violation when it comes to labor, no, diri man ni uso ang forced labor, na ang mga tao, ang mga Pilipino were forced to work and they were not able to receive proper compensation. That's why the Catholic Church was in resistance, no? Murag wala sila, dili sila receptive when it comes to this particular program or project, Royal Philippines Company in 1785. That is why also, class, this particular project, dali ra po siya na closed, no? Um, it was due to, even though Basco, rather, even though Basco pushed for the reforms, no, nahimo na siya og ni gilift na niya ang ban, no? He lifted a ban on Chinese merchants, and he had done a lot of things not just to save this Royal Philippine Company in 1785. However, no, daghan yung mga reklamo. That's why na-close ra pud ni siya dayon kani nga program. And then um due to this due to the closure, no, of due to the closure of this Royal Philippine Company in 1785, there was an established, no, tobacco monopoly, no, and this tobacco monopoly was to, I mean, this was established to maximize the production of the export goods, no, way back 19th century. So global events continued to affect the Philippines, no, at the beginning of the 19th century. And by 1810, again, the Mexican War of Independence, they won, no, for they won their independence via revolution against Spain. And then with that, na-close pud ni ang Royal Philippine Company in 1785, and with this also came the eventual end of galleon trade, no? We knew that the galleon trade was the bread and butter of the people before, no? Especially the Filipino people, but na-close po siya, no? Because it came to a point nga na-lose gud iyang enterprise. With that, um, Manila, no, after the closure of this Royal Philippine Company in 1785, Manila was open to world trade by 1834. No? World trade na gyud. So as a result, foreign merchants and traders came and eventually resided in Manila and took over the role of financing and facilitating the the agricultural cash crop, no, the export oriented economy. So some of the major investments came from British and American. So nisud na ang mga Western people. Okay? And then um this particular development, no, the rapid development of the economy began to flow in the Philippines through cash crops. So, unsa man yung cash crops, no? By the first half of the 19th century, majority of the export of the Philippines came from cash crops like tobacco, sugar, cotton, indigo, abaca, and coffee. So, the importance of land, because kusog na kayo no ang mga cash crops, the importance of land became more evident also because cash crops became the major source of revenue in the colony or in the Philippines. So, as the provinces shifted to cultivating cash crops, land ownership and management began to be a concern. So no, nasulbad na nauntay lang problema sa ekonomiya. However, because ni kusog man no ang cash crops, daghan na pong nagproblema no sa pag-own og yuta. So what happened next? The farmers felt the pressure no of the economy while the hacenderos grabbed the opportunity. So for example, when a small landowner needed capital and money, he would engage in a pacto retroventa. So what is pacto de retroventa, class? This is an agreement of sale, no? Guaranteeing that a small landowner could buy the land back at the same price at which it was sold. For example, ako mamalagya akong yuta. Nga akong baligya sa yuta kay 5,000. And then if that particular land, no, nga akong gibaligya worth 5,000, and then if pananglitan maabot ang time nga gusto nako kwaon balik ang yuta, no, dapat ang akong mabayaran 5,000 ra gihapon. So dili siya pwede mo increase, No munay agreement sa Pacto di Retroventa guaranteeing that a small landowner could buy the land back at the same price at which it was sold. Okay? So, mura ra kag imong gipaabang for 5,000, no? Nakadawat kag 5,000 and then kung imo nang kwaw ng yuta, ibalik nimo ang 5,000. No? Inana siya nga concept. Okay? So, with that, it became difficult na. No? It became difficult to buy back land given the continuous increasing no demand of the economy and the renewal of the sale. Tungod kay kusog kay ang cash crop, lisod na kaayo sa mga landowners to get back their land or to buy back their land. Kaya ang uban, mm, mo settle man gyud sila no nga mananom gyud sila no nakapalit sila gyuta and then they will really hold the land no as long as I mean as much as they can because mo naman ang demand no ang cash crops mo na may demand in that time. Okay? So with that, tungod lisod na kaayo no, lisod na kayo ibawi sa yuta, ang mga landowners naglisod na pud sila no kay nabaligya nila lang yuta nga knowing the fact nga kinahanglan pud nila balik ang yuta. So eventually, um they would forfeit no the land and would be forced to become tenant farmers. Unsa man ning tenant farmers class? Kaning tenant farmers class nga nahimo kang farmer sa imong kagalingong yuta pero mura na lang kag empleyado because ang imong yuta kay imo namang nabaligya no nga di naman mabalik nimo. So kung ano lang ka ni trabaho ka sa imong yuta before no sa yuta nga imuha sa una pero karon no you cannot own that anymore because imo namang nabaligya no. Okay. So these factors actually bring or brought change to the social stratification in the countryside. So that's why in that particular time class no again, naglisod jud ang mga tao and then niabot na sa point nga mag-grab na lang og yuta. And abot sa time nga even the Spanish officials, the Spanish rulers grabbed lands no without due process of law. Na inana ka injustice ang nahitabo sa unang panahon. Okay? So let's proceed to the Chinese mestizos. So the Chinese and the Chinese mestizos. So the again Chinese mestizos class are half Filipino and half Chinese. So the sectors that greatly benefited no, from the changing economy were the Chinese kay mga business minded beni sila. No and especially the Chinese mestizos. So these Chinese mestizos class assumed an important role in the economy all throughout the Spanish colonial period. And they influenced the changing economy in the 19th century no, by purchasing land, accumulating wealth no, and influence. Actually, sila pud ang nakasave no, sa mga Pilipino. Labi na mga Chinese mestizos nga nakaminyo og mga Pilipina. So at least na-elevate no ang social status sa usa ka Filipina nga nakaminyo siya no og Chinese mestizos. Ilang mga anak mahimo sang Chinese mestizos no and then that particular event that made the Filipinos some of the Filipinos no to elevate their lives nga mabilong na sila sa middle class no mga mestizos. Okay? So let's continue. So let's talk about the impact no, on life in the colony no, or in the state or in the Philippines. So the economic developments, no, as mentioned, precipitated social, political, and cultural developments as well. So, for example, the new economy demanded a more literate population no, to address the rising need for a more professionalized workforce to man the trading activities in Manila and other centers. So, as what I told you, since ni-open man ang Philippines for world trade, nga, it was done in Manila, so nagginahanglan sila mga literate nga workers. That also paved the way to the what do you call this to the establishment no of colonial government order in 1836. Okay, so This demand compelled the issuance of the colonial government order in 1836 that required all towns to set up primary schools, no, to teach the population how to read and write. And it eventually also led to the passage of an education decree in 1863, no, that mandated free primary education. So eventually, the 19th century also gave birth to many schools, no, that address the growing demand for more professionals. So, thankful pud ta, no, because of the world trade, daghan namang demand nga maliterate, dapat literate ang workforce, mo nang ni-open sila, no, for free primary education. And in fact, schools like Ateneo Municipal, no, which is now Ateneo de Manila, Ateneo Municipal were established during this time. Actually, class kaning Ateneo Municipal mao ni ang eskwelahan ni Rizal, no? Diri siya ni eskwela og high school nga karon Ateneo de Manila na. Okay? The complex nature of the developing economy also allowed the government to intensify um, bureaucratization and streamline colonial governance. Okay, so in short, there has, I mean, there were a lot of improvements in the economy before, even though na mga struggles nga na-encounter ang Filipinos, but in in to compensate those struggles, no, there were a lot of opportunities also which arose during the time. Usa na na ang free primary, offering of free primary education. So there was also another decree, no, being established. So as Manila again became the trading center, no, it became a viable destination for people seeking work, no, or seeking better opportunities, or those wanting to escape the worsening, no, conditions in the rural places or in the farmlands. So the increased rate of internal migration raised several concerns, no? Tungod kay daghan kay ni migrate from rural to urban, nagka-problema pod, no, ang system before during 19th century. So what happened next? So again, the increased rate of internal migration raised several concerns, no, concerns or problems. So one, people flocked the centers of trade like Manila, and nahitabo ang overcrowding, no, and this overcrowding implied issues in living quarters, no, naapil na ang population, ang pollution, no, kay tungod sa kadahang tao dili na ma-apply ang proper sanitation, no, ang na-compromise ang public health, no, and na-increase pod ang occurrence of criminality. So two, another problem happened last, no, due to the migration of a lot of people before from rural to urban. The continuous movement of people made tax collection extra difficult, no, tungod ginagbalhin-balhin ang mga tao, naglisod sila og collect og tax. So what they had done to solve that, so in order to mitigate, no, this problem, one measure was implemented, and that was the 1849 decree of Governor General Narciso Claveria. So what is this? This urged the people in the colony to adopt surnames. No, that was the Catalogo de Apellidos drawn up. The colonial government assigned surnames, not to people, and forbade changing names at will. So dili sukad na establish na ning 1849 decree of Governor General Narciso Claveria, if nanakay surname based sa imong sidula, mao na gid na, no, you're not allowed to change it. Which mo sa nahitabo sa tuwa karon, no, we will only change our last names, especially to the women, if maminyo sila, no. Okay. And then um, together with more policies like the registration of possession, no, of a cedula personal bearing one's name and residence, and the colonial government sought to have mechanism, so mo nilang mechanism to solve the number two problem, no, nga maglisod na sila collect og tax because the people were moving, no, were there were a lot of people migrating from rural to urban. Okay. So aside from the economic system, we will be talking also the cultural system of the Philippines no way back 19th century. So let's begin with the clothing. Before class, no, ang prevalent clothing no during the 19th century was the barong. No, and the 19th century is a period of unprecedented change in the different areas of the Philippine colonial system, and the second half was particularly dynamic and glamorous era filled with monthly tertulias, occasional haranas, serenades, annual fiestas, no, galas, bailes, even daily afternoon promenades. Ya kana nga mga occasion class, ang suoton yun sa mga Pilipino sa una was a barong, no? And since the 1860s, many European royalties received gifts of pinya cloth. So kanang cloth sa what do you call this sa barong, okay, mo na siya gitawag na tog pinya cloth, no, originating from the Philippines from loyal subjects to commemorate momentous occasions. So appeal po ang mga Spanish people before class. They were also wearing barot saya or barong, no, given by the Filipino people. Kalabi na to mga Filipino people nga naay mga friends no nga Spanish people. And those Spanish people who were attending promenades or fiestas or galas, they wore that one. Another is the religion. We have known man gyud no that it's the 500 it's the 500 years no 500 years na nato gi celebrate ang Christianity here in the Philippines, and we are indebted to that fact no sa mga Spanish people. We owe that to them because they were the one who introduced the Spanish people were the one who introduced to us no Christianity way back 1521. Okay, so in the view of some historians, the actions of the church and Spanish colonial authorities during the Spanish colonial period, no 1521 to 1898, that's 333 years. No, imagine that one class. Um, we were colonized by the Spain or by the Spaniards for 333 years. Okay, for a while. Let me deduct this one. 377 years. But again, it based on history, 333 years siya because 1898 was the year we were able to, or the Filipinos were able to declare no its dependence or independence rather its independence no from Spain. So it's 377 years. Okay, so it led to tensions and social upheavals in the Philippines. So while some Filipino clergy, as well as the Catholic lay population, expressed discontent regarding the lack of access to proper religious training. For the Filipino clergy, mayong kag Filipino clergy class mo ni mga Pilipinong pari, no? And the lack of religious training also means the lack of opportunities to rise to positions of power within the church and subsequently effect changes in their country. Actually, before Manggod, during the 19th century, during the time we were colonized by Spanish people, ang naaragid sa posisyon, no, ang naaragid sa government kay mga Spaniards ragid nga priest, no, Spanish priest. Ang mga Filipino nga priest class were not given proper training, no, kay mahadlok man ang mga Spanish people nga if ma-bright ang mga pare no, if makamao sila gamiton niya nila for revolution no, na nitagam sila sa Mexico nga Mexican people fought for revolution and they won it. So nahadlok sila nga tagaan sa og proper education ang mga tao, ang mga Pilipino, no apil na ang kaparian. Well, in fact, no, most din hitabo sa Gomborza, no nga they were executed because they were the one who fought no silently against Spanish people, and nasakpan man, no? And they were executed. And actually, Rizal witnessed that, and he found that particular experience very traumatic, and that also provoked him, no? That provoked him to fight for our freedom, gyud. Kaya nakita man niya ang cruelty, no, sa Spanish people against the Filipino clergy. Okay, again, as again no nga, wala pa sila tagay og saktong training, napay mga cruelty nga nahitabo. And usa na ato ang execution of Gomborza. Okay, so another fact about religion, the cultural goal of the Spanish clergy was nothing less than the full Christianization, no, and Hispanization of the Filipinos. So when it comes to religion, no, thankful man gihapon ta, no, because of the Spanish people, we were able to learn about Christianity, and we are able to live that, no, up until now. And in the first decades of missionary work, local religions were vigorously suppressed, no? And old practices were not tolerated. Meaning, ang mga local nga practices nato as Filipinos, gisuppress, meaning gibawal, no? And dili gid siya pwedeng the Filipinos before were not allowed to practice the Filipino culture, meaning they really had to adopt Christianity. Kay before manggod class, no, before wala pa naabot ang mga Spanish people, nagka lain-lain lang ang pagtuo sa mga Pilipino. No, ang uban gali nito og paganism, no? Ang uban we're not believing something good. No, and good thing naabot ang Spanish people, they were able to teach us about Christianity. So, as the Christian laity grew in number and the zeal of the clergy waned, it became increasingly difficult to prevent the preservation of ancient beliefs, no, and customs under Roman Catholic garb. Thus, even in the area of religion, pre-Spanish Filipino culture was not entirely dissolved. Okay, so um, napoy mga culture nga ato yung na-preserve no, as Filipinos. But mostly, most of the culture we adopted, especially in religion, no, we got that from Spanish people. Okay, so that's all about the the cultural system no we had, or I mean the Philippines had way back 19th century. So I hope you have noted some salient parts of the discussion, and please prepare for your quiz, for a quiz no related to this topic. So thank you for listening.